Hey, what's up guys, it's Matt with the Movement System. In this video, we're gonna show you 5 exercises that help you sprint faster. We're working with Simon Hansen on his video, Olympic sprinter, and we're gonna show you 5 of his favorite exercises to get sprinting faster. Let's go ahead and dive into it.
Before you get started, you wanna make sure that you're warming up, and this is really important. Simon actually recommends just a few drills here that you can really master the technique and do very efficiently. An A-skip is a really good drill to use here. I want you guys to pay attention to technique and be really precise in the way that you execute this movement. The way that you handle your drills is going to dictate how your running technique will improve and the way that you're going to carry your posture throughout the rest of your training session. So take this drill seriously. Another good example of a warm-up drill would be this fast leg drill. You can do either the single leg variation or the alternating leg variation. This will take some time to build your rhythm and coordination and that quick leg drive to contact the ground. But practicing this and getting better over time and really nailing down your technique on these drills will carry over to improving your speed and technique. Another drill that I would recommend including in your warm-up is ankle hops. So ankle hops are really good for introducing the stretching and shortening to the Achilles tendon and the calf musculature. The Achilles tendon plays a huge role in sprinting because you need to be able to store and release energy very quickly in order to sprint fast. So training and warming up that system to be able to do that stretching and shortening very quickly can be really beneficial. If you're going for maximal height and using arm swings, I would keep these to less than 20 repetitions in a row. Now there are hundreds of drills that you could do for your warm-up, but we would recommend just doing a few and really mastering the technique, getting warmed up, getting your nervous system ramped up, and then you're ready to go. So now let's get into some weightlifting. Exercise number 1 that we're going to recommend is the partial range of motion squat, and not enough people are actually taking advantage of the huge benefits of this movement. This study actually compared the effect of quarter squats, half squats, and full squats on vertical jump performance and sprint time. It showed that full squats had a 1% improvement in vertical jump and no change in sprint time. Half squats showed a 7% improvement in vertical jump and a 1% improvement in sprint time. And then quarter squat showed a 15% improvement in vertical jump and 2% improvement in sprint time. Now 2% might not seem like a lot over the course of 16 weeks, but that's like taking your 12-second 100 meter and bringing it down to 11.75. If you can do that consistently over and over again, you're really going to set yourself up for good long-term progress. Now this study used 2 lower body resistance training sessions per week in the 2 to 8 rep range. I think a good starting point for most people might be around 4 sets of 4, 2 times a week. Make sure you're using a weight that you can be explosive and fast with, but it's not too light to where it's easy. Importantly, you'll want to progress at least one variable, so either you can keep your 4 sets of 4 and just add weight week to week to week, or you can decide to go from 4 sets of 4 up to 4 sets of 5 up to 4 sets of 6 by progressing volume. Either way, stick with this exercise for at least 4 to 8 weeks to start to see that progress. All right, moving on to exercise number 2, we have jump squats. And this can be a really good exercise if you're doing it right. This study measured the effect of jump squats on sprint performance. Now, jump squats are a ballistic explosive movement, meaning you're gonna actually leave the ground and accelerate through the end of the repetition. This makes it really good and specific for sprinting. The protocol used in this 8-week study was 4 weeks with 4 sets of 8 and then 4 weeks with 8 sets of 4. Both of those were the same volume and produced a very similar outcome, so it's not like one was better than the other. What does matter though for improving power output is the load that you're using. You don't want to go too light and you don't want to go too heavy. So this study individualized load to allow for greater than 90% average power. Let's explain what that means. Peak power output is different for each exercise. For exercises like a barbell back squat, we tend to see peak power output around 60 to 70% of 1 rep max. For Olympic lifts, peak power output might be around 70 to 80% of your 1 rep max. But for ballistic jumping exercises, it's a little bit different, and we actually see peak power output with around 10 to 30% of your body weight. It's hard for me to say exactly what's going to be optimal for you because it depends on a number of factors like your previous training status, if you're more strong but slow, or if you're more fast but weak. If you're younger, if you're older, it's hard to say, but I'll at least give you the range of 10 to 40% of your body weight to use for jump squats. I think for most people, this is a good target. I would recommend doing sets of no more than 8 repetitions. So a good target to work up to might be something like 5 sets of 6. If you're just starting out and you've done no jump squats before, you might start with just 1 set of 6 and then over time build up to 4 or 5 sets of 6 over the course of a number of weeks. It can be tempting to jump right into 5 sets of 6, but you're kind of risking injury and it's not going to be as effective as if you build up over time. If you build up over time, each week your body's going to handle a little bit more and a little bit more, and your body will keep adapting and getting stronger. So avoid the temptation to jump right into what is optimal for some people around 5 sets of 6. Build up over time. All right, exercise number 3 is power step-ups. And this is one that not a lot of people know about, but can be very beneficial. Power step-ups take advantage of the reciprocal nature of sprinting. To be explosive through acceleration and at max velocity, you need to be really strong on one leg. Chances are the people who are faster than you are stronger than you on one leg, meaning that they can do step-ups with very heavy weight very explosively, especially relative to their body weight. The way you do a power step up is by explosively driving your foot down into the box and accelerating your body weight upward. This is very different than just doing dumbbell step ups for conditioning where you're just stepping up, you're stepping down. That's not the same. This is for strength and power, and it's meant to be explosive. Over time, once you've built good strength and good technique, you can progress these to quick switches to really dial in power. All right, number 4 is our long lever hamstring bridge. Performance training is great, but you have to stay healthy for it to be effective. We know that hamstring strains are one of the most common injuries in sprinting, so you want to do the best that you can to build hamstring strength and reduce the risk that you're going to get injured. The hamstring takes a ton of strain in the late swing phase whenever it's decelerating the leg from progressing forward and also initiating hip extension. So it can be really beneficial to train the hamstring to accept those really high loads and strain rates. Now, it's important to note that stretching is not enough to reduce the risk of hamstring strain injuries. In fact, this research study showed that hamstring flexibility deficits have been identified as a weak risk factor for hamstring muscle injury in sprinters, and it's unclear whether improving flexibility reduces hamstring injury risk. You can stretch if you want to, certainly, but it's not quite as important as building strength, because by contrast, reduced hamstring strength qualities and endurance were associated with increased hamstring muscle injury risk. And hamstring strengthening exercises were associated with reduced hamstring muscle injury risk. Many people are aware of the Nordic hamstring curl, and I think this is a great exercise, definitely can fit into a program, but one that you might not be quite as familiar with is training the hamstring at a longer length with isometrics. Doing this at the most basic level would be to just go into a bridge position, lift the hips, and then lift one leg and hold in an isometric contraction in a slightly extended knee position. So over time, you're working to longer and longer lengths. And then a more advanced variation would be to work up to putting your foot on the wall and adding a barbell or other weight to your hips to really train that hamstring in that lengthened position. I would recommend picking the isometric that feels appropriate to your current level of conditioning, to where it's challenging to hold for 10 seconds, but not impossible. You're not losing your form and your position and your technique, because it's really important that we're still getting to full hip extension to make this effective. But once you figure out which one's appropriate for you, do it for 10 seconds left leg, 10 seconds right leg, 10 seconds left leg, 10 seconds right leg. Repeat that for a full minute and then rest for 2 minutes. Do it for a minute again, rest for 2 minutes, 3 sets total. Whether you're more of a distance runner like me or a sprinter like Simon, you'll see a huge benefit from building those juicy hamstrings. All right, and then exercise number 5 is training your hip flexor. And there's a couple different options that will work well here, depending on what equipment you have available. In this book, Special Strength Training Methods, you can actually see there's a really good graphic for what range of motion we need to be training our hip flexor for optimal sprinting mechanics. Bottom line is we need to be training our hip flexor in an extended position, because that's when our leg is going to be doing backside mechanics, and we need to drive that knee forward and get to the front side. Spending more time and being more aggressive getting into your front side mechanics can be really beneficial for your sprinting technique. Here's what Simon had to say about that.
Probably 10, 15 years ago, people realized that if you limit the time that your lower leg spends behind your body, which is basically backside mechanics because it happens towards the backside of your body. Mm-hmm. So backside mechanics is just the mechanics, the biomechanics stuff you do behind your body. If you limit all that butt kicking and stuff that happens behind the body and focus on bringing your leg from the backside of your body to the front side of your body as quickly as possible, you're gonna actually increase the stride rate just a little bit, and you're gonna get in a position where it's easier for you to get back onto the ground and produce a lot of force.
If you have a weak hip flexor, it can be really hard to drive that knee forward and get good front side mechanics. So what exercises can you do? If you have a machine, this is an excellent exercise to do. The machine hip flexion allows you to load through the full range of motion, get all the way into hip extension where your knee is behind your body. Great exercise overall. But I know not a lot of people are going to have access to this machine. Alternatively, you can lay back on a box, bring one knee into the chest, put a kettlebell around your foot, or attach a weight to your foot somehow, and then go through that full range of motion where you're going into extension and then slowly bring the knee up. Another option, if you just have a mini band, is to lay on your back and then to straighten one leg out, alternating side to side. Whichever exercise you find works for you, try to hit at least 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps twice a week. All right, let's throw in some bonuses. Sled pulls can be extremely effective. Resisted sprinting can be really effective as long as we're not resisting so much that it's drastically changing our mechanics. You still want to be able to move fast, but have a little bit longer ground contact time so you can actually work on your technique and strength in those positions a little bit more than whenever you're just sprinting unresisted. Hyperextensions, working the lower back. Not a lot of people are thinking about it, but the lower back contributes to extension as well and to the sprinting motion. There are a lot of different lower back exercises that can be effective, but if you have access to a reverse hyper, that's definitely the one I would recommend. And then lastly, I'll throw in this Copenhagen plank adductor exercise. The adductors, or the inner thigh muscles, contribute to hip extension as well. They assist your hamstrings. So it's a really good muscle group to train as well. If you're looking for a full training program that shows you exactly how to progress from week to week, includes all of your exercises, check out what Simon Hansen has at hansensprint.com. If you're not already, make sure you go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks.